Alright, I'll be reading from this book right here. 2 seconds. You're going to be looking out over my pond. We just got a good bit of rain. Hold on. Place a little bit quieter. Alright, chapter 71. And it came to pass after this that my spirit was translated, and it ascended into the heavens, and I saw the holy sons of God. They were stepping on flames of fire. Their garments were white, and their faces shone like snow. And I saw 2 streams of fire, and the light of that fire shone like hyacinth, HYACINTH, and I fell on my face before the Lord of Spirits. And the messenger Michael, one of the chief messengers, seized me by my right hand and lifted me up and led me out into all the secrets, and he showed me all the secrets of righteousness, and he showed me all the secrets of the ends of the heavens, and all the chambers of all the stars, and all the luminaries from where they proceed before the face of the holy ones. And he translated my spirit into the heaven of heavens, and I saw there as it were a structure built of crystals, and between those crystals tongues of living fire. And my spirit saw the girdle which girt that house of fire, and on its 4 sides were streams full of living fire, and they girt that house. And around were seraphim, cherubim, and openim, and these are they who do not sleep, and they guard the throne of his glory. And I saw messengers who could not be counted, 1,000,000 and even 100,000,000, encircled that house. And Michael and Raphael and Gabriel and Phanuel, Phanuel, and the holy messengers who are above the heavens go in and out of that house. And they came out from that house, and also Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, and Phanuel, and many holy messengers without number, and with them the head of days, his head white and pure as wool, and his raiment indescribable. And I fell on my face, and my whole body became relaxed, and my spirit was transfigured. And I cried with a loud voice with the spirit of power, and blessed and glorified and extolled. Man, can you imagine? Side note. And I cried with a loud voice with a spirit of power, and blessed and glorified and extolled. I wonder what that feels like, because that's a powerful right there. And these blessings which went out of my mouth were well pleasing before that head of days, and that head of days came with Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, Phanuel, and thousands and myriads of messengers without number. And he came to me and greeted me with his voice, and said to me, This is my Son of Man, who is born to righteousness, and righteousness abides over him, and the righteousness of the head of days does not forsake him. And he said to me, He proclaims peace to you in the name of the world to come. For peace has proceeded from there since the creation of the world, and so it will be to you forever and ever. And I will walk in his ways, since righteousness never forsakes him. Their dwelling places will be with him, and their heritage with him, and they will not be separated from him forever and ever. And so there will be a length of days with that Son of Man, and the righteous will have peace and an upright way in the name of the Lord of spirits forever and ever. Section 3. The Astronomical Book. Chapter 72. The scroll of the courses of the luminaries of the heavens, the relations of each according to their classes, their dominion and their seasons according to their names and places of origin, and according to their months, which Uriel, the holy messenger, who was with me, who is their guide, showed me, and he showed me all their laws exactly as they are, and how it is with regard to all the years of the world, and continuously until the new creation is accomplished, which endures forever. And this is the first law of the luminaries. The luminary named the sun has its rising in the eastern portals of heaven, and its setting in the western portals of heaven. And I saw 6 portals in which the sun rises, and 6 portals in which the sun sets. And the moon rises and sets in these portals, and the leaders of the hold on, scared me. And I saw 6 portals in which the sun rises, and 6 portals in which the sun sets, and the moon rises and sets in these portals, and the leaders of the stars, and those those whom they led, 6 in the east, and 6 in the west, and all following each other in accurately corresponding order, also many windows to the right and left of these portals. And first there goes out the great luminary named the sun, and his circumference is like the sun, and his circumference is like the circumference of heaven, and he is quite filled with illuminating and heating fire. The chariot on which he ascends, the wind drives, and the sun goes down from heaven and returns through the north in order to reach the east, and is so guided that he comes to the appropriate portal and shines in the face of heaven. In this way he rises in the first month in the great portal, which is the 4th. And in that 4th portal from which the sun rises in the first month are 12 window openings, from which proceed a flame when they are opened in their season. When the sun Hold on. I got to see where my dog's at. Roscoe! Roscoe! Get away from that water. Sorry about that. All right. Let's see. Like the circumference of heaven, and in his quiet field with illuminating and heating fire, the chariot on which he ascends, the wind drives, and the sun goes down from heaven and returns through the north in order to reach the east, and is so guided, and he comes to the appropriate portal and shines in the face of heaven. In this way he rises in the first month in the great portal, which is the fourth. And in that fourth portal from which the sun rises in the first month are 12 window openings from which proceed a flame when they are opened in their season. When the sun rises in heaven, he comes out through the fourth portal for 30 mornings in succession, and sits accurately in the fourth portal in the west of the heaven. And during this period the day becomes daily longer, and the night nightly shorter, to the 13th morning. On that day the day is longer than the night by a ninth part, and the day amounts exactly to 10 parts, and the night to 8 parts. And the sun rises from that fourth portal, and sets in fourth, and returns to the fifth portal of the east for 30 mornings, and rises from it, and sets in the fifth portal. And then the day becomes longer by 2 parts, and amounts to 11 parts, and the night becomes shorter, and amounts to 7 parts. And it returns to the east, and enters into the sixth portal, and rises and sets in the sixth portal for 31 mornings on account of its sun. On that day the day becomes longer than the night, and the day becomes double the night, and the day becomes 12 parts, and the night is shortened and becomes 6 parts, and the sun mounts up to make the day shorter and the night longer, and the sun returns to the east, and enters into the sixth portal, and rises from it, and sits for 30 mornings. And when 30 mornings are accomplished, the day decreases by exactly 1 part, and becomes 11 parts, and the night 7. And the sun goes out from the sixth portal in the west, and goes to the east, and rises in the fifth portal for 30 mornings, and sets in the west again in the fifth western portal. On that day the day decreases by 2 parts, and amounts to 10 parts, and the night to 8 parts. And the sun goes out from that fifth portal, and sets in the fifth portal of the west, and rises in the fourth portal for 31 mornings on account of its sun, and sets in the west. On that day, the day is equalized with the night, and the night mounts to 9 parts, and the day to 9 parts. And the sun rises from the portal, and sets in the west, and returns to the east, and rises for 30 mornings in the third portal, and sets in the west in the third portal. And on that day, the night becomes longer than day, and night becomes longer than the previous night, and day shorter than the previous day until the 13th morning. And the night amounts exactly to 10 parts, and the day to 8 parts. And the sun rises from that third portal, and sets in the third portal in the west, and returns to the east, and for 30 mornings rises in the second portal in the east, and in like manner sets in the second portal in the west of heaven. And on that day the night amounts to 11 parts, and the day to 7 parts. And the sun rises on that day from that second portal, and sets in the west in the second portal, and returns to the east into the first portal for 31 mornings, and sets in the first portal in the west heaven. And on that day the night becomes longer, and amounts to the double of the day, and the night amounts exactly to 12 parts, and the day to 6. And the sun has traversed the divisions of his orbit, and turns again on the divisions of his orbit, and enters that portal for 30 mornings. They call the sun him. Side note there. 30 mornings, and also sets in the west opposite to it. And on that night, the night has decreased in length by a ninth part, and the night has become 11 parts, and the day 7 parts. And the sun has returned and entered into the second portal in the east, and returns on those divisions of his orbit for 30 mornings, rising and setting. And on that day the night decreases in length, and the night amounts to 10 parts, and the day to 8. And on that day the sun rises from that portal, and sets in the west, and returns to the east, and rises in the third portal for 31 mornings, and sets in the west of heaven. On that day the night decreases and amounts to 9 parts, and the day to 9 parts. And the night is equal to the day, and the year is exactly as to its days, 364. And the length of the day and of the night, and the shortness of the day and of the night, arise through the course of the sun, where these distinctions are made. So it comes that its course becomes daily longer, and its course nightly shorter. And this is the law and the course of the sun, and his return as often as he returns 60 times, and rises, the great luminary, which is named the sun forever and ever. And that which rises is the great luminary, and is so named according to its appearance, according as the Lord commanded. And he rises, so he sets, and does not decrease, and does not rest, but runs day and night, and his light is sevenfold brighter than that of the moon. But as regards size, they are both equal. Huh. Let me read that again. As he rises, so he sets, and does not decrease, and does not rest, but runs day and night, and his light is sevenfold brighter than that of the moon. But as regards size, they are both equal. Let me get something to drink. Chapter. Hold on. Let me get my dog. Get in here if we get in trouble. Lay down. Lay down. Right here. Lay down. Lay down. Good girl. Alright. Chapter 73. And after this law I saw another law dealing with a smaller luminary, which is named the moon, and her circumference is like the circumference of heaven, and her chariot in which she rides is driven by the wind, and light is given to her in definite measure, and her rising and setting change every month. And her days are like the days of the sun, and when her light is uniform, it amounts to the seventh part of the light of the sun. And so she rises, and her first phase in the east comes out of the 13th morning, and on that day she becomes visible and constitutes for you the first phase of the moon on the 13th day, together with the sun in the portal where the sun rises, and the one half of her goes out by seventh part, and her whole circumference is empty, without light, with the exception of 1/7 part of it, and the 14th part of her light. And when she receives 1/7 part of the half of her light amounts to 1/7 part and the half thereof. And she sets with the sun, and when the sun rises, the moon rises with him, and receives the half of one part of light. And in that night, in the beginning of her morning, the moon sets with the sun, and is invisible that night, with the foreseen parts and the half of one of them. And she rises on that day with exactly a seventh part, and comes out and recedes from the rising of the sun, and in her remaining days she becomes bright in the remaining 13 parts. Chapter 774. And I saw another course, a law for her, and how according to that law she performs her monthly revolution. And Uriel, the holy messenger, who is the leader of them all, showed all these to me, and their positions. And I wrote down their positions as he showed them to me. And I wrote down their months as they were, and the appearance of their lights until 15 days were accomplished. And, excuse me, in each seventh part she accomplishes all her light in the east, and in each seventh part accomplishes all her darkness in the west. And in certain months she alters her settings, and in certain months she pursues her own peculiar course. In 2 months the moon sets with the sun in those two middle portals. The third and the fourth she goes out for 7 days, and turns around and returns again through the portal where the sun rises, and accomplishes all her life. And she recedes from the sun, and in 8 days enters the sixth portal from which the sun goes out. And when the sun goes out from the fourth portal, she goes out 7 days until she goes out from the fifth, and turns back again in 7 days into the fourth portal, and accomplishes all her light. And she recedes and enters into the first portal in 8 days. And she returns again in 7 days into the fourth portal from which the sun goes out. So I saw their position, how the moon rose and the sun set in those days. And if 5 years are added together, the sun has a surplus of 30 days. And all the days which accrue to it for one of those 5 years, when they are full, amount to 364 days. And the surplus of the sun and of the stars amounts to 6 days. In 5 years, 6 days every year comes to 30 days. And the moon falls behind the sun and stars to the number of 30 days, and the sun and the star bring in all the years exactly, so that they do not advance or delay their position by a single day, and continuously, but complete the years with perfect justice in 364 days. In 3 years there are 192 days, and in 5 years, did I read that right? Nope. In 3 years there are 1,092 days, and in 5 years 1,820 days, so that in 8 years there are 2,912 days. For the moon alone, the days amount in 3 years to 1,062 days, and in 5 years she falls 50 days behind. There is the sum of these 5 to be added to the 1,062 days. And in 5 years there are 1,770 days, so that for the moon and days in 8 years amount to 2,832 days. For in 8 years she falls behind to the amount of 80 days. What? I don't understand. All the days she falls behind in 80 years are 80, and the year is accurately completed in conformity with their world stations, and the stations of the sun, which rises from the portals through which it rises and sets for 30 days. Hmm. Chapter 75. And the leaders of the heads of the thousands, who are placed over the whole creation and over all the stars, also have to do with the 4 intercalary days, being inseparable from their office, according to the reckoning of the year, and these render service. So the 4 days, which are not reckoned in the reckoning of the year, and owing to them men go wrong therein, or those luminaries truly render service on the world stations, one in the first portal, one in the third portal of heaven, one in the fourth portal, and one in the sixth portal, and the exactness of the year is accomplished through its separate 364 stations. For the signs and the times and the years and the days the messenger Uriel showed to me, whom the Lord of glory has set for ever over all the luminaries of the heavens, in the heavens and in the world, and they should rule on the face of the heavens, and be seen on the earth, and be leaders of the day and the night, the sun, moon, and stars, and all the ministering creatures which make their revolution, and all the chariots of heavens. In like manner, Uriel showed me 12 doors open in the circumference of the sun's chariot in the heavens, through which the rays of the sun break out, and from them warmth is diffused over the earth, when they are opened at their appointed seasons. And for the winds and the spirit of the dew, when they are open, standing open in the heavens at the ends, and for the 12 portals in the heavens at the ends of the earth, out of which go out the sun, moon, and stars, and all the works of heaven in the east and in the west. There are many windows open to the left and right of them, and one window at its appointed season produces warmth, corresponding as these do to those doors from which the stars come out according as he has commanded them, and wherein they sit corresponding to their number. And I saw chariots in the heavens running in the world above those portals, in which revolve the stars that never set. And one is larger than all the rest, and it is that which makes its course through the entire world. Chapter 76. And at the ends of the earth I saw 12 portals open to all the quarters of the heavens, from which the winds go out and blow over the earth. 3 of them are open on the face, the east of the heavens, and 3 in the west, and 3 on the right, the south of the heavens, and 3 on the left, the north of the heavens. And the 3 first are those of the east, and 3 are of the north, and 3 of the south, and 3 of the west. Through 4 of these come winds of blessing and prosperity, and from those 8 come hurtful winds. When they are sent, they bring destruction on all the earth, and on the water on it, and on all who dwell thereon, and on everything which is in the water and on the land. And the first wind from those portals, called the east wind, comes out through the first portal, which is in the east, inclining toward the south. Desolation, drought, heat, and destruction come out from it. And through the second portal in the middle comes what is fitting, and rain and fruitfulness and prosperity and dew come from it. And through the third portal, which lies toward the north, come cold and drought. And after these, the south winds come out through three portals. Through the first portal of them, inclining to the east, a hot wind comes out. And through the middle portal, next to it, fragrant smells and dew and rain come, and rain and prosperity and health come out. And through the third portal, lying to the west, dew and rain, locusts and desolation come out. And after these, the north winds from the seventh portal in the east come dew and rain, locusts and desolation. And from the middle portal, health and rain and dew and prosperity come in a direct direction. And through the third portal in the west come cloud and hoarfrost and snow and rain and dew and locusts. And after these four are the west winds. Through the first portal adjoining the north, dew and hoarfrost and cold and snow and frost come out. And from the middle portal, dew and rain and prosperity and blessing come out. And through the last portal, which adjoins the south, drought and desolation and burning and destruction come out. And the 12 portals of the four quarters of the heavens are completed with that. And I have shown all their laws and all their plagues and all their heavens are completed with that, and I have shown all their laws and all their plagues and all their benefications to you, my son Methuselah. All right, we're going to stop right there. Pause.